new to this podcast, we'll just sit back. You're about to have a good old time as we chat with the newest headlines trending in the sports world, and it's just a good time. So enjoy the podcast, guys.
Been lit, boy. Everything goes.
We now return you to regular programming.
All right, welcome back. We're going to start off with some NFL, some big headlines today. Eli Manning officially retired today after 16 seasons, making it official with the media today as he gave his goodbye, farewell speech, however you want to call it. You know, two-time Super Bowl MVP, he's 39 years old. You know, got benched
First
after week
overall
2.
pick?
Yeah, he got traded too.
First overall pick 2004.
To the Chargers.
Got traded from the Chargers to the Giants for one Phillip Rivers.
He did not want to be with the Chargers. I wonder why he didn't want to be with the Chargers. I'd play in a nice warm area.
I don't know, probably back then they probably weren't good. I don't know. But he has got a 117 record. 366 TDs, 244 picks, 7 seasons above 500. 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Hall of Famer?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I mean, what do you classify a Hall of Famer as nowadays? I mean, if you look at a guy, like you said, you know, I almost said World Series, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. You know, that puts him in an elite club. Only 5 of the quarterbacks that have done that, including Tom Brady. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He has the most ever passing record in his team history. You know, batting a 500 in his overall records, 8-4 in the playoffs.
My thing is
I don't know. It's tough. What do you classify Hall of Famer as anymore?
Hall of Famer is the person that's great at that position that they're going in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Was he great at that position?
You know, I was talking about this with someone the other day. I think that Eli Manning was a good quarterback. I don't think he was a great quarterback. I think that he was a good quarterback.
8-4 in the playoffs, 60% completion rating, 18 TDs, 9 picks.
I mean, I think he was 7th in all time in passing.
I think so. Yeah. 7th all time in passing yards, 8th all time in passing TDs, 6th all time in passing attempts.
So you're looking at a quarterback that's in the top 10 of the categories, the most of the categories in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that gives him a good chance, a good push in the Hall of Fame. A lot of people are going to say no because, I mean, if you look at the end of his career, I mean, yeah, he didn't look that good. But let's be real. NFC East, he gave a good fight every year between your Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Eli, you know, he was a good quarterback. Was he great? I wouldn't say he was great. And everyone's saying because he's got 2 rings that a Super Bowl is what seals the deal. But if that's the case, then I brought this up in 105.3 The Fan when I texted into the KNC Masterpiece. Does Joe Flacco get in?
No.
Because if all it takes is a Super Bowl to get you in, then that just means, I mean,
That's where I don't personally think that.
who would you think's better, Dan Marino or Eli Manning?
Dan Marino, absolutely.
He has no Super Bowls.
I know. That's why and that's tough. I think Dan Marino's not in the Hall of Fame, is he?
I don't know. I think he is.
I would say he should be.
He is.
We gotta get our stat guy to check that.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing is, can you weigh someone's Hall of Fame with Super Bowls? I think you could add that into there. But when you look at a quarterback like Joe Flacco really hasn't done much to be a Hall of Famer. Yes, he's won a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl, but I don't think that a Super Bowl can also at the same time 100% guarantee someone a Hall of Fame. I mean, you could win a Super Bowl and you could still be a terrible quarterback. I mean, that year Ray Lewis fired that defense up and he led that team. I think Eli Manning, honestly.
But my thing is, too, those Super Bowl teams that the Giants won.
I was going to say, you think about who he plays.
Their defense got him there. I mean, you think about it.
I think they were like 9-7 though. The year the first one they won. I mean, they weren't that great of a record, and they went in and they beat Tom Brady up. I mean,
yeah, but you think about it. Did Eli Manning win that game? No, he got lucky. He goes back. Matter of fact, he could have been called in the grass for a sack. You know, he got lucky. He got out of that sack, and he threw up a Hail Mary, basically, to that Tyree guy who caught it on his helmet.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to disagree with you for a second. I understand Eli didn't win the game for his team because it's a team effort, but you think about who's in control of the game. The quarterback, the captain of the team. Eli Manning's the one that's, giving the team the plays. They're out there. He's moving the plays around. He's throwing the ball. He's handing the ball off. Like, he is the general out there, and he won 2 Super Bowls. You can't say Eli Manning was lucky and won 2 Super Bowls. The Patriots were undefeated the one year, and he went and he beat them. He upset the Patriots. They did it as a team.
Dan Marino, Hall of Famer, 2002.
Yeah, I figured he was in the Hall of Fame.
It's just,
Thanks for the stat, man.
it's going to be one of those things. Well, I mean, personally, do I think he deserves to be in there? Yeah. But the argument is everyone's saying because he was 117 and 117. But my thing is you can't put team stats on one person. You know what I mean?
No.
Sure.
But like you said, I mean, you read out those stats. He's top 10 in almost every category. That's really good. He's won 2 Super Bowl MVPs, which only 5 other players have done in NFL history. That's really good. He's their most ever passing record in team history. That's really good. I believe he went 210 consecutive games without an injury. That's really good.
Let's do this, okay? I got a bunch of quarterbacks here who could retire soon, okay? Let's rank them and see if they get in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Drew Brees, automatically.
Automatically.
Eli Manning.
It's a 50-50 chance.
Tony Romo.
It's tough. I don't know his playoff records. I mean, he's never won. That's tough. See, that's why I don't want to be the guy that's to dictate this, because do I think Tony Romo had a good career? I do. I mean, unfortunately, he didn't get really far in the playoffs a lot.
Yeah.
Didn't get. That's another thing you got to think too. Not even Super Bowls.
Yeah.
You got to think how many playoff wins do they have?
So-
Are they successful in the playoffs?
So if you say no to Tony Romo, what about Phillip Rivers?
No, I don't know. He's broken records though. That's the thing.
And then if you say no to Phillip Rivers, what about Matt Ryan?
I don't think Matt Ryan's Hall of Fame.
Matt Ryan is like one of the best as far as stats goes.
I don't know.
He's got better stats than most of these guys. What about Ben Roethlisberger?
Dude, listen, all these quarterbacks you're naming, I mean, they played a long time. They've all had, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, I think, is going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, look how many Super Bowls he's won.
If I had to pick right now, I'd say Drew Brees, yes.
Instantly.
Eli Manning, that's a coin flip. I wouldn't be upset if he got in. Tony Romo, I'd have to say no.
I really think that they wouldn't put him in.
Ben Roethlisberger, that would be a coin flip. It's gonna be like with the Eli Manning thing.
Why I think
Big Ben is a good quarterback.
Why I think Matt Ryan wouldn't go in is if you talk about Dan Marino, for instance, didn't win Super Bowl. Look how many Super Bowls he went to. Look at all the success he had with that team. Matt Ryan, how many years in a row has he gone 7-9? I mean, look at this year; they did terrible.
Don't matter. He still puts up good stats.
You could put up the best stats, but if you're not winning games, how is that going to get you an MVP? I mean, you think of an MVP. The MVP is a guy that helps your team win. Eli Manning helped his team win 2 Super Bowls.
But it doesn't matter if we're talking about just getting into the Hall of Fame. You know, Phillip Rivers. You know, he's another Dan Marino.
Yeah.
If you say yes to Dan Marino, how do you say no to Phillip Rivers?
I think I would say yes to Phillip Rivers over Matt Ryan, because I'm pretty sure Phillip Rivers has broken a few records already. And that's the only reason that's giving me a good push.
It's gonna be interesting because there are a lot of good names out there. But the Hall of Fame, they could make the room a little bigger and get some of these guys in there.
Yeah, how many guys get picked at a time?
I don't know. That's weird because
For
they
baseball,
just had.
for baseball, you got to get over 75%.
But they just had that 100th anniversary one where they just got Jimmy Johnson and they got that other coach in from the Steelers.
It's weird how a coach can get in the Hall of Fame. 'Cause you think they don't play.
Yeah, but still, they're still good coaches. Do you know? I have a good stat somewhere. You know, Jimmy Johnson is the one that invented
I saw that.
whole trade.
Nobody traded as much as him as a coach. He basically
he did
broke that barrier.
51 trades in 5 years, and that was more than the whole entire NFL in that time frame.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer? That's a coin flip. It's we could talk about our views of it as much as we want. Do I think that he was a good quarterback? I truly do. I think Eli Manning was a good quarterback. I don't know if he was the guy won 2 Super Bowls and 2 Super Bowl MVPs, so I think that's got to put him up there somewhere.
I don't know, but Drew Pearson, he's another one. He got screwed out of the Hall of Fame. He's the only player from the 1970s All-Decade team not to get into the Hall of Fame.
I was listening to First Take today with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kelleher or whatever his name is, and they were talking about like the best quarterbacks of all time. And I hate when people try and say how Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Drew Brees. Listen, it's not even because I'm a Drew Brees fan. Listen, I get it. Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl just like Drew Brees. But what has Aaron Rodgers done?
I think Aaron Rodgers is probably, if you had to have a quarterback to lead you on comebacks from behind in late drives,
That shouldn't dictate you as a good
doesn't matter.
quarterback.
He's got a Super Bowl.
So does Drew Brees.
I know, but I'm just saying.
My
Their
biggest thing
stats
is
are kind of equal.
not at all.
Okay, 'cause
This
you
is
have
why.
more
This is
passing.
why.
Here we go.
No, but like my biggest thing is like, and then we talked about the top 100 quarterbacks, or top 10 quarterbacks of all time. Is how can you have a guy like Drew Brees, who holds almost every record in the NFL? Like you think about that, almost every record, and how is he not like one of the top 3 quarterbacks? Like that just doesn't.
I'll tell you right now. To me, the best quarterback of all time is Joe Montana.
Yeah, obviously.
Tom Brady's good, but see, in the era of football today, you can't touch the quarterback.
No.
Like a Joe Montana and a Dan Marino and a John Elway and those guys like that. They got their butts beat. So I think Joe Montana's the best of all time.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's going to go. He's
Got a
going
lot
to be
of, what is
instant
that, like
Hall
6
of Famer.
rings? Just like
Tom Brady's getting in because it's just what he's done.
He's got 6 rings. You got to give it to a guy like that. At that point, a Super Bowl does matter. When you got six Super Bowl rings, come on now.
He's in. He's a lock.
No, that is
But
tough. That's tough.
It's hard to pick who's the best of all time because football has changed so much.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon, quarterbacks won't even be wearing helmets and pads. I mean, that's how freaking soft it's getting.
Yeah. I think Patrick Mahomes is if he can stay healthy, he's gonna be a quarterback that will break all of Drew Brees' records.
Well,
the way he passes the ball.
Just think since he's come in, I mean, his playoff record is amazing. If he was a BS offsides or holding call away from last year
Offsides.
from going to a Super Bowl, this should be a second Super Bowl in a row.
Well, we'll let the NFL people, take care of the whole Eli Manning thing. But moving on from Eli Manning, lately in the news, Antonio Brown has been floating in the news. He started off as a rapper, and then
He just became unwrapped.
and now he had a warrant out for his arrest, but he came down and he basically surrendered. There was rumors that he was high. ESPN got a hold of the warrant, and it basically said that I have it right here. The arrest warrant said that Brown physically pulled and grabbed the victim. The victim's shirt was ripped. Apparently,
they said he threw rocks at the truck.
Yeah,
too.
Brown is accused of throwing a rock at the driver's moving truck and then later forcing his way into the driver's side of the main cabin of the truck, striking the driver after a disagreement over payment.
Well, his trainer was arrested right away. Glenn Holt. He was arrested right away. AB ran in the house and they surrounded the house and he refused to come out. And that's when they I guess eventually left and then issued a warrant for his arrest.
Yeah, this is just a.
This is the best thing for him.
Yes, that wasn't what I was gonna say. When you look at this, you have to think at some point. Okay, I think that his football career might be over after this.
Oh, it's definitely over.
I mean, what's going
but
through?
That's the least of his problems.
What is going through Antonio Brown is such a mystery right now. I mean, he went. You think 2 years ago, even a year ago, this guy is a receiver that is at a high level, top 5 wide receiver in the league. To go into such a low point in his life, I mean, they put the suicide vest on all. Yeah. High felony people that come in. That's just a standard thing. I don't want people to think, he was wearing a suicide vest because he thought about killing himself. They do it to all the people that come in. $100,000 bail. They paid it off.
Monitor had to turn his passport.
All his passports and guns.
And he's got to do a psych evaluation of which he needs.
Yeah.
I think we're going to find out that this is all going to stem from problems from getting a concussion or something.
Yeah.
Because
the NFL
he's
said
not
that
right.
concussions were up a little bit this year.
He's the best at his position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's thrown it all away. Something's not right there in the head.
Brown watched the proceedings from another room via teleconference.
That's normal procedure, too. That's so they don't put the inmates in with the judge.
It said that, he remained quiet the whole time until the judge addressed that there was a little disagreement, arguments, going back and forth. But what I found interesting was his old agent, Drew Rosenhaus, and his wife, the wife of his 3 children, they both requested to the judge for him to receive mental health help for his sporadic and impulsive behavior.
Yeah, he needs it.
He does.
He needs it because you know what's next? He's going to either hurt himself or he's going to hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
And when they called the warrant in for him, they called it in as an armed and dangerous person.
I think that what you see here, too, is some people when you get some money, when you have that label that I'm like the best receiver in the league, certain stuff starts to go over your head. Like I can't get in trouble. I can't get in trouble with the law. I'm Antonio Brown.
Yeah, but look how he was 2 years ago. He
know.
wasn't like this.
That we know of.
But you never heard any reports of it in the Steelers locker room of him being crazy to that last year when Juju was there. I
always had so much respect for Antonio Brown. Guy that fights hard to get into the league, guy that fights hard to, get into the number one spot. And then to go through this, I mean, the only thing I really can say is I hope the best for him.
Well, I said like this before. Something's got to be like messed up mentally. Something's not stirring the Kool-Aid, because a guy with that much talent who could be making millions upon millions of more dollars to just throw it away like this, something's not right. And the guy definitely needs help. He really does.
It's very interesting. I don't even know what to say about it. It's just it's a big mess that's currently going on in the Browns household. But
well, he's got a lot of kids, and that's the sad thing too. Is his kids are seeing everything that's going on, and it's not good for them to see this either.
And even if he didn't want to be in the NFL, you have a beautiful house that's paid off already. You have a beautiful wife, you have 3 kids, everything you could really ever ask for. And I mean, this also shows that money doesn't give you happiness, man. Some people, I mean, then again, like it could be the concussions, it could be some mental health, but it's just crazy to see someone who has so much success to fall down this. I really do think this will be good for him, especially to get the mental help. I think that it will really be an awakening for him. I think that he probably does have people talking in his ears too, saying you need help, but you can't stop someone. You know what I mean?
No.
But,
well, around the rest of the NFL, interesting stories coming up lately about quarterback possible moves. There's reports of Phillip Rivers possibly going and playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's rumors about Tom Brady going out and playing for the Raiders, which has Carr all a mess. He's sick of hearing about it. A lot of things rumbling. There's a lot of free agent quarterbacks out there. Rumors about Dak Prescott, where him and the Cowboys had a $33 million deal on the table until after week 3. It was no longer negotiated. Dak kind of pulled away, and now they're back to the whole. He wants $40 million because Mahomes could be making over $50 million next year.
Stop.
It's just. It's horrible. Where football's going, it's horrible. They got to stop doing this. I don't think he's worth $35 million, let alone $40 million.
We talked about this before. What's tough is if Dak needs to realize that there is a lot of people, and I got mad about this whole thing with Zeke too, because these guys got to realize you have a lot of free agents
26
who are really, really good talent on your team that you want to stick around. And if you want them to be able to pay those players, you need to take like not a pay cut, but a lower contract, because if you take all the money, how are they going to put that money towards those other players?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need to be like a Michael Jordan who takes a smaller contract to allow other players to stay so that you can go win championships, because Dallas on paper has a really good team. So you need to be the general of the team. You need to be the team captain and take a lower contract so that you can keep everyone around. You want to keep Amari Cooper? Okay, take a lower contract. You want to keep your good defensive players? Take a lower contract, because they're going to go.
But they have big decisions, because if they have to decide between, Dak's going to either get signed or franchise tag, but keep Amari or Byron. Amari told Jane Slater at the Pro Bowl that he had no conversations with his agent since the end of the season. He's not worried about the deal. Whatever happens, happens. But he does want to stay in Dallas.
Yeah,
that's his goal. He wants to stay in Dallas. Byron Jones, on the other hand, you're looking at a top-notch corner who is going to probably demand around $16 to $17, $18 million a year.
I'll take him in New Orleans.
The problem about Byron Jones, and the Eagles are all in for him. And if he goes to Philadelphia, I think I'm going to cry.
How could you go to a division rival?
But Byron Jones, he's going now 40 games without a pick. And since the 1970 merger, he's the only player to have fewer than 5 picks in his first 73 games. That's the downside about him.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean,
but they don't throw at him a lot.
If he's deflecting passes and limiting targets, that's just as good.
If I was the GM, I would have to really sit down and think, what's harder to replace? A cornerback or receiver? And
cornerback.
With the way the draft is this year, they're saying that the receivers down there now at the Senior Bowl are going off. There's easily 6 or 7 guys that could be future Pro Bowlers on the rosters down there. You
can easily find a good receiver off a practice squad. You throw someone out there with good speed who can catch it. Cornerbacks are tough.
I can't see paying Amari Cooper $18 million. That's more than Julio Jones. I just don't think he's worth that.
I saw a mock draft that had Jalen Hurts dropping down to the New Orleans pick, and he had a Saints uniform on. And I was like,
You guys have too many quarterbacks there.
you know what's funny is going into this offseason is a very big question mark with the New Orleans Saints quarterbacks because Teddy Bridgewater wants to stay in New Orleans, but he could easily take some money and go anywhere else. Drew Brees is taking a really deep breath this offseason, and there's a lot of people close to him who think he's not even coming back this year.
Speaking about Drew Brees, what's going on with those Saints?
No idea. I have no idea. I didn't get to look into it. I just know that it doesn't look good. That owner's dead, so I mean, whatever happened with him, that was he has to live with that. A lot of people are giving me trash, saying my team is disgusting. But hey, that's not the team. That was the owner, and he should be ashamed of himself. We have a new.
No one knows exactly what happened yet. All we know is that
No.
they're hiding 279 emails that they have,
Yeah,
and they're trying to help the archdiocese out with helping them with the PR stuff. But they're hiding.
weird, yeah.
They're hiding a bunch of sexual abuse on kids and everything else, which the Saints are now going to be tied in with, trying to help them hide this. It's going to get ugly, and it could be as bad as the Penn State Sandusky thing.
It's a really, really weird situation that I hope is just.
The Saints lawyers is fighting in court right now to block public knowledge of those emails that went out. So
That doesn't look good. It doesn't look
it's
good at
gonna
all.
Find out, yeah.
It's not. It doesn't look good for the organization. And what sucks is that the players are going to take a lot of the heat because they play for that organization, and that sucks because I don't know.
Well, around the rest of the NFL, Freddie Kitchens joins Jason Garrett and Mark Colombo of the Giants.
That could be a good crew
They're
over
going to build. Well, Mark Colombo, they really helped the Cowboys line, so it's going to help with the Giants line. Jay Gruden becomes the Jaguars offensive coordinator. Marinelli, he becomes the defensive line coach for the Raiders. Miami came out and said they want Joe Burrow, so they're going to have to move up in the draft.
And I like Miami's head coach. He was in a tough situation where they traded a lot of their players away. They didn't really have a lot of good talent. Traded your best offensive lineman away, and he was not going out there to just what's the word to just tank. Mm-hmm. He went out there and played hard every single game.
In Cincinnati, I think Miami has the 7th pick now from the Steelers. Like
the Bengals had the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying the Steelers, I think, are the 7th. So there's no way he'll fall to them. There are a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft. Tulo's in this draft. Hurst is in this draft. A lot of good players.
I want Hurst so bad.
Cincinnati has a good thing here, man. They could fall down. They can trade out of that position, move down, and still get it. Still get a good. Yeah, they can still get it, or they can get what's his name, Trevor Lawrence, whatever his name is, from Clemson.
I don't think he's going to the draft
next year. I'm saying they can make picks to come up next
year.
Year.
There's also the guy from Oregon who's a really good quarterback too.
Huber or whatever his name is.
A lot of people are talking about him.
Yeah. Super Bowl note, the 49ers, they want to wear their 1994 white throwback jerseys that they wore, I think it was week 17 against Seattle. Right now, the NFL said no because Kansas City is the home team. They get choice of uniforms. The importance of the white uniform is 13 of the last 15 white uniforms won the Super Bowl.
Niners vs. Chiefs is going to be very interesting because the Chiefs, the past 2 games, have started off very slow. A lot of drop passes, not moving the ball downfield, falling behind very quickly, very fast. I mean, you saw the Titans, I think, were up 17-0. I mean, Houston was up by a lot. And then you saw Kansas City turn that offense up right before halftime and really have to score a lot of points. And I think if that happens against the 49ers, who have a fantastic defense and a fantastic defensive front, especially with Joey Bosa up there, I don't think you're going to catch up. I don't think Jimmy G's going to allow you to catch up.
But the nice thing about Jimmy G is he's fresh. He's only thrown 17 passes in the first 2 games.
Yeah. I mean, now I have a pretty interesting stat here is that the Chiefs' defense is on average allowing 27 points per game. San Francisco is averaging 29 points per game. That just shows you that could be pretty bad.
My thing is I think that if Kansas City can find a way to stop the run,
That's what they need. Yep.
I don't think Jimmy G is the kind of quarterback that can get into a shootout with Patrick Mahomes.
I don't know. That last Seattle 49ers game, you really saw how Jimmy can throw. He was in Seattle,
too. Vegas has Patrick Mahomes as the best odds to win the MVP this year.
What's going to be interesting is Patrick Mahomes, you think about how cold it was in Kansas City, and he was spinning the ball. Super Bowl's in Miami. Man. It's nice and warm in Miami, unless it rains, but they have the roof now.
Yeah.
But it's going to be nice and warm. What the big matchups here are going to be is you're going to have Kittle and Kelsey. Both outstanding blockers and both who can really receive. This year's stats, Kittle has 1,053 yards and 5 touchdowns. Kelsey has 1,229 yards and 5 touchdowns. Very even stats, both averaging about almost 90 receptions this year. So those are two targets you really got to watch, especially Kelsey, the playoffs that he's had this year.
I heard a stat the other day on radio. I didn't realize this. It's been 22 years since a running back has won the MVP award.
He had a wide receiver win it last year.
Yeah, the last person to win it was Terrell Davis of the Denver Broncos.
I liked him. He was really good.
Yeah.
Chiefs scored 35 against the Titans and 51 against Houston, so the offense is flying like never. I mean, they just start slow, and you think about the speed they have with Tyreek Hill. You have Williams in the back. It's just Kelsey, who played basketball and can jump over anybody, and Mahomes, who can do magical plays. It's a tough team. I mean, I think San Francisco's defense is going to have a real tough test here, but I think
I hope it. I want to see a shootout.
I want to see Kansas City win.
I don't want to see a defensive struggle. I want to see a shootout.
Because you think about the last couple
Super
Bowls, it's been very
Boring.
Not necessarily boring. Good games where it's like a good defense and a good offense.
Well, they're all boring because Dallas is never there.
Yeah, and the Saints. But
The nice thing is the Super Bowl's on my birthday this year, so I get Monday off, so I can actually stay up real late and watch it.
I'm taking the Chiefs over the Niners. As much as I want to say Niners going to win, I'm really rooting for the Chiefs.
I want to see the Chiefs win because I want to see Andy Reid get a ring.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the 49ers get their 6th title. That puts more pressure on Dallas.
Yeah.
I want to see Andy Reid. I think it's well deserved. I think he's one of the best. I don't want to say best coaches around, but the guy is. He's a trooper. He never says anything negative about anyone. And even when he was with the Eagles, I didn't dislike him.
He's always quiet.
Yeah. He's got to the NFC Championship game a lot of times. He's got to the Super Bowl once with McNabb and them. So I'd like to see him get it. I really do. I just think it would be good for him. And it would be. I see him and Mahomes. I can see them winning a bunch. They could be the next Brady Belichick.
Him and his cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
If you're ready, I'll move on to NBA with you.
No, let's go into the MLB.
You want to go to MLB?
Yeah, sure.
Well, MLB will be using electronic umps was the rumor for spring training, but MLB came out and denied that. So what they're really doing is for a couple of games in Florida, they're going to have a camera-based tracking system that will be run in the background during some of the games for technology development and training purposes, because if we're being real, in the next couple of years, they're going to have an electronic strike zone that helps the umpires with more accurate calls. And the umpires, the union for the umpires, they're willing. They definitely want to improve their game because they know they're not perfect. I don't think you're ever going to see a robot back there.
Yeah, but you're seeing a lot of the umpires coming out and saying when they used those robots down the International League that they were off. They weren't even on target.
That's why they'll be running these tests here in spring training. I might go to a spring training game.
Good.
I'm excited. I can get Aaron Judge on the podcast. Aaron Judge, can you answer a question for me?
Okay. Dallas Keuchel came out today, and he was the first one of the 2017 Astros to actually apologize publicly. He was a little upset that, what's his name, Mike Fiers came out and started this whole mess, and he said multiple teams nowadays use multiple signs, even when guys are on base, that actually stealing the signs really didn't help much. But
it's a lie. Look what happened. They won the World Series.
Yeah, he came out and he was the first one to apologize.
If it didn't help so much, then why are you slamming on garbage cans and doing it every single play?
Yeah. The MLB and the Players Association actually made a plea deal giving the players immunity for their testimony. That's why you'll never see any of these players getting suspended. So as the players came out and they gave more and more details and helped the investigation, that's why you saw it happening. And because they already had immunity, they can't be touched. So no matter what they say or what happens, they're fine.
That'd be intriguing. Like, say you left Houston, I'd be intrigued to just call MLB up, and be like, listen, this is everything that happened. Same time though, I don't want to be a snitch.
Yeah.
I don't want to snitch my teammates out. No, it's interesting. There's a lot, especially with the whole. I don't think we talked about this in the podcast yet, but how there was rumors when Beltran got fired, his niece came out was saying that Altuve and Bregman were wearing buzzers underneath their jerseys that would signal to them when a fastball was coming. And you just think about how highly respected Altuve and Bregman are, and just how much that would bring them down.
Steroid players don't get into the Hall of Fame. How does this affect them with their Hall of Fame bid now?
If it's proven true, I think real high.
You think about it, Barry Bonds never, ever tested positive for a steroid test.
Both were accused of using steroids, him and Clemens.
They were accused, but never proven that they did them.
It was real. You could tell.
He's never came out and said it, but I'm just saying, he's never failed a test. He's never been caught.
I think that if they...
So how could he be even put into the whole steroid thing? That's like saying you're a murderer, even though you didn't murder nobody, but I'm saying
you look like me, and then a year later you look like the Hulk.
Maybe he has a hell of a trainer.
Okay. No, I think that if Altuve and Bregman, I think if the MLB found the evidence to say they did have buzzers on, that would be huge. I don't think you're getting in the MVP. I mean, I don't think you're getting the Hall of Fame if you were in a buzzer to help you hit pitches. That's worse than stealing signs.
They said that there's news out there about Clemens. Like, what's her name? Mindy McCready, that country singer. She was 16 years old and Clemens was 36, and they were having a relationship.
Oh, I didn't
So
see
a lot
that.
of that stuff came out recently, and that's why he's not getting into the Hall of Fame, and just sick.
I mean, he had 61%, and you need 75%. I mean, he increased from last year.
Well, Bonds, and
They both increased.
they were up there. They were over 75 at one point, ready to get in, and it dropped.
Wow.
Anyway, the Phillies.
They both have 2 years left.
Yeah, the Phillies made four moves today. They actually picked up Francisco Liriano,
Neil Walker.
Bud Norris, and Drew Storen. I think Bud Norris and Drew Storen haven't pitched. I didn't pitch last year.
I think Bud Norris played for the Orioles.
Yeah, Francisco Liriano. I think he's 36. He was 5-3 in relief for the Pirates last year. That's not a bad deal. He's a lefty for them. Neil Walker, he played with Miami. I think he batted like 269.
He's decent veteran depth to have on your team. I think he's out of his.
But they were all
That
offered
is-
minor league deals.
Which typically
Nothing
they get up.
significant.
Felix Hernandez got offered a minor league deal to play for the Braves, which I'm intrigued. I thought he was going to retire after he left Seattle, but we never said how Jeter and what's his name, Larry Walker, they both were elected into the Hall of Fame and will be inducted into Cooperstown July 26th. Jeter was one vote away from being an anonymous election
They had to
like
be a
Mariano
Red- they had to
Rivera.
be a Red Sox fan.
I don't know. That's just stupid though. How do you not vote Jeter? How is Jeter not a Hall of Famer in your books?
Well, the thing that really aggravates me is the first thing that people come out and say is that Jeter is not even a good player.
Yeah, I saw that.
It just
I saw
blows
that.
me away.
How can you have a guy who's so well respected? He never gets ejected, never's arguing with anybody. He's never big into the media. He wins
Well,
World
look,
Series. He gives it his all.
He's a 20-year career veteran, a 5-time World Series champ. I believe he has 2 MVPs. 5-time Gold Glove winner, 14 All-Star selections, 5 Silver Slugger, 2 Hank Aaron Awards, 1 Robert Clemente Award. In the postseason, he has the most hits, triples, doubles, and total bases. Only 2 players have more home runs in the postseason than him, Manny Ramirez and Bernie Williams. He's 4th overall in RBIs, and he's got a career playoff average of 309 and a World Series average of 321.
It's crazy. This guy was such a great player.
He's the Yankees' all-time career leader in hits, doubles, games played, stolen bases, time on base, plate appearances, and at-bats.
I want someone to tell me who was a better shortstop than Derek Jeter.
I
I mean, this guy literally came out and said he played every day when he practiced. He practiced like he had a chance to lose his job that day.
He's the true Mr. October.
Yeah, yeah. And this guy came out, and this is a guy that when he practiced, yeah, he'll goof around with the buddies, but he practiced like it was a game situation every time.
But he was a true professional. You know, you never heard any off the field. Only once you heard something about him and 2 prostitutes. But you never heard anything negative about this guy, ever.
And you think about how he grew up. Black dad, white mom. He took racism. You know what I mean? Like, and he could have came out and been a vicious guy. He was a quiet guy with the media. He was a good player. He was someone that was good to look up to as a baseball player.
Yeah.
So I don't know how someone can say he's not a Hall of Famer.
I don't think they wanted to have 2 Yankees with perfect votes to get in. I really don't.
I mean, both those players are great Hall of Famer options. But the Mets have a new manager, Luis Rojas. Big question is, who is he?
No idea.
He was the
Sounds like a
quality.
player.
He was the quality control coach, which is someone that, if the office people need to get in contact with the coaching staff or if either one of those guys has a problem, he finds out what it is. Takes almost like a messenger type of guy. He also became the outfielders coach in 2019 towards the end of the season, but he was given a multi-year deal. He said he's going to work tirelessly to help this team win. This is their 4th manager in the past 2.5 years, 3rd one in the last 4 months.
You know, surprising that Houston hasn't and Boston hasn't picked anyone yet. I mean, spring training is like 2 weeks away, pitchers and catchers, and no one's even said anything about interviews or nothing.
Nope.
I know Bannister was looking at applying for that position, and Showalter and
I saw
Dusty
Showalter.
Baker.
I saw Dusty's getting old.
He's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of baseball knowledge. I mean, look at Dexter. Dexter has a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Rojas' dad was a manager for the Expos and Giants. His brother actually played ball for the Mets for 2 seasons. I think it was 2007, 2008. And he was the minor league coach for 8 years, starting the organization with the Mets in 2006 or 7, I believe it was, and hasn't left since. So, like, he's really, really worked hard for this, and he joined the pros the last season. But
Well, speaking of Boston, I heard today on 105.3 The Fan that the Padres and Boston are working on a deal for Mookie Betts. Betts is a top 10 MVP candidate in the last 6 years.
I forget what team I just saw.
Fill.
What teams did you just say?
Padres.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I saw the Padres. Think about that. That'd be big. You got Will Myers. You got that young shortstop. I don't want to even try his name because I'm going to screw it up. And then you have Hosmer at first base. They got some really good talent in that team.
And then we got the whole
and they got Machado.
Yeah, the Nolan Arriato dilemma continues. Right now, he said he's just not going to talk about it anymore. He's upset. Him and his agent have talks with the ownership, and there's a lot of things he's mad about. At this point, teams don't want to touch that deal because he's got an option next year, and he doesn't. They don't want to make a deal with him. There's no way they're going to invest in a player that can opt out next year.
It's just like a weird contract. I don't even know why the Rockies would sign him to such a big contract and they want to trade him.
But I think Colorado wants teams to buy out that option, buy out the player option, because then they're going to get more money out of the deal. But he's got 7 years, like $260-some million left on his deal.
I think maybe if he gets traded to the right team too, he will stick with them. Gordon, the outfielder for the Royals, him and the Royals have come to terms to allow him to get traded now. So they are looking at trade offers. I think that is allows the trade after June 16th. So he's been with that team forever. He's an old player. Oh, you know what's funny is in baseball, like when someone turns 30, we think they're so old. Like,
well,
I don't
think it's old anymore.
No, I know. What's funny is like when Jeter was retiring, he was like, I feel like I'm dying, because you're only 40. But like in baseball, that's old. You know.
But when you run those bases at 40, it's a big difference.
No, but like what I'm saying is people like say like when you're talking about baseball players 32 years old, in our books we're like, oh man, it's old, because you have so many MLB players nowadays who are 20 21 22 who are stars. I mean, think about Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, how young they were, how young the game has evolved. So when you get players who are like 30 32 35, it's like they're getting old. But they're not. They're really not. They're only 30.
Yeah.
But that's all I have for baseball.
Well, we're going to jump into the NBA, but I got to make a phone call. We're going to have a guest on.
All right, we're going to have a guest on, so you guys will hear this guest in about 1 second.
All right, guys, we're back now for the third time. We got our NBA Minute going, and we have a special guest on the line. We have Alex Evans, who is a podcast, well, I want to say buddy, but he does something totally different than we do. But he's a podcaster. Alex, how are you doing?
Yeah, totally different. It's just like a hodgepodge of me and my idiot friends, reviewing movies. So
there's
doing great though. I'm real excited. Like, thank you guys for having me on.
That's a pleasure, man. Thank you for coming on.
You just made our wall of fame, not wall of shame.
Wall of shame. Okay.
This is our first collaboration, though. Usually it's athletes we have on. This time it's another podcast, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, hopefully I don't screw it up too bad, right?
Nah, you can't screw it up. We've done that from the beginning. Anyway, you are a Sixers fan just like we are, and of course we have concerns about the Sixers, man. That they're
in dire need of a shooter.
On paper they look amazing, but for some reason we just can't win close games, and we can't win games we're supposed to win.
When you look at it, I mean, I think it's a role thing rather than like a shooter thing. To an extent, I mean, like, we need shooters. We need to spread the floor a little bit.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, like there's not really a lot of defined roles on the Sixers right now. It's kind of just a hodgepodge of who's going to go off one game or the other. And
my thing is who do you blame? I mean, I'm getting to the point now where I used to defend Brown the whole time, but now I'm starting to think that he's not the right coach for this team anymore.
It sucks too when you have Embiid out, who they're shooting for him to come back next week. Richardson's out at least 2 weeks with a strained left hamstring. So now you got players on the bench that they could be playing, but it's like I just don't think the rotation of guys coming in and out is that great right now.
Well, and the thing is too, I mean, like, did you recently? This was posted I think within the last couple hours, but they're bringing up Zaire Smith to replace minutes off of Richardson, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Like, if anything, you could bring up Shayok.
Yeah.
Or you could even get Trey Burke in the
mix.
Mix.
I want to see more of Trey Burke. I really do.
I don't understand that. I don't understand why Neto's playing more than Burke.
He played great with the Knicks, or shot well with the Knicks too.
Well, if you see, they're doing them in runs, and it might just be seeing who's going to be your backup for the playoffs, because like Neto, in my opinion, it's not that I don't think he's decent, but like I talked to you about this before, and my opinion on Neto is he's like a little bit better of a jump shot than TJ McConnell. I mean,
I miss McConnell. I miss McConnell.
I miss his tenacity a lot, and I miss his full court press. And I don't think that the trade-off was really all that good. Like, you get Neto, but I would rather have TJ, who's been there, since the beginning of the process and had his heart and soul in the team.
Yeah. Oh my
Well, I'm looking
gosh.
at the stats now, and you know what's amazing? Our best three-point shooters, statistically, percentage-wise, on our team, it's Neto, Trey Burke, and Ben Simmons. But they all average. They all average less than one three-pointer a game.
Yeah, I was going to say they don't take a lot of shots. The one that I really like to see doing right now is Corky. Corky's been doing fantastic, and the thing is, not even the 3-point that's coming up, because he's draining threes. He's
39%.
He's really starting to hit them, but it's the confidence that he's gained. Because, when you look at Corky, he's not only looking for that three, but he's also driving to the net. And I think that's a really big thing for him with his confidence that, you didn't see from how they said they're going to try to move him into more of a Redick role. But, Redick didn't drive to the net. Redick was always looking for that pick and pop.
Yep, he was. He was.
It.
And Redick was horrible at defense.
And at least, and let's not get it twisted, Korkmaz isn't great at defense, but he doesn't have to be. When you have Ben and you have Thibault on the floor and you have Embiid, you don't really have to be all that great at defense.
No, I mean, we're ranked second in points allowed, so our defense is playing very well this year.
But see, the thing about Corky, though, too, is Corky, he could set something up for you, but he did what McConnell did, but he's a better shooter from outside where McConnell couldn't hit the three-pointer.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if they use Korkmaz right, and he could be a big threat for this team.
That's true.
He could. Well, I mean, there's a ton of things that I think could be done better. And everybody wants to talk about, Ben getting that jump shot. Ben getting that jump shot. That's just going to be our savings grace if Ben can get a three-pointer. And the thing is, Ben doesn't even have to have a three-pointer.
No,
he puts up enough points without it.
If he had a 20-foot jump shot that he hit 30% of the time, he'd be deadly.
Yeah.
Because you would spread the floor enough. I don't think that they're getting that they're not spreading the floor enough to let Embiid and Horford really work down low.
Well, it doesn't help when Embiid lines up with a three most of the time also.
Well, no, and but then you look at Horford too. They're relying a lot on him to hit.
But that all comes down to Brett Brown. That's the kind of pick and roll that we play where our big men are at the top of the key.
Yeah, and so I've always been a big Brett Brown fan, and I enjoy him, and I like his tenacity, and I like the way that he interacts with the players, and I don't think all of it is on him, because I see a lot of them that are saying he should hold Ben Simmons to be more accountable for that shot. He should demand that he make that shot, or he should have Embiid be more physically fit when he comes back. And if you understand anything about athletes, it's pretty hard to make them do anything.
Yeah,
in this day.
It really is.
So and he's always kind of had a big mixed bag of things. So
see,
I don't think he's going to be gone this year. I really don't.
No.
Especially middle of the season, definitely not. I think the only thing that'll save Brett Brown's job right now is a really deep playoff run.
See, the thing that is concerning me about the Sixers is we're trying to run that same offense we did last year, but we had three-point shooters last year. And if you look at our players now, you have Embiid, Harris, Simmons, Richards, and Horford. They all average double-digit points. After that, you have nobody even close to 10 points average.
I think it's all five.
So it falls off. I mean, Corky's the closest one at 8.9. But there's no threat on the bench that comes in to relieve our scorers, and that's the problem. And with the way
and depending on when you looked at the average for Korkmaz, I mean, he just started going off within the last 4 games. So really his average was probably significantly lower than that just, 4 games ago.
yeah,
That's true. Now there was a rumor going around too that the Sixers were interested in D Rose. I wanted to know your thoughts on that. I think D Rose would bring a good.
washed up.
I think that'd bring a good like veteran appearance to the team, especially if he did come off the bench a little bit.
I don't know if D Rose would be the one that I'd be looking for because
Gallinari.
the issue that if I was going to go with anybody, and I really like Kobe White off of the Bulls. I think he's a young guy. I think he has a good attitude. I think he has a lot of years, and he is deadly with that 3.
Mhm.
Absolutely deadly. But then you also got to look at Joe Harris, who's on the Nets right now. They're kind of like one of the worst teams as far as that goes. And he's, I believe, on the last year of his contract. I think he's a free agent after this year. So they could very easily move into that and have a 3-point shooter.
There was a report out just the other day on Bleacher Report that the Sixers and the Dallas Mavericks were looking at Gallinari from Oklahoma, who's 31 years old. He averages 19 points. He's shooting 40.8% from 3-point range. But they want Al Horford. So you're gonna lose somebody that we need right now because Joel Embiid's out to pick up someone that could shoot 3-pointers.
Yeah, I don't want to go Horford either.
I don't really want to give him up right now, but I don't think it'd be bad this offseason to really look about getting rid of Horford and getting a better
It's a big
option
contract
for a center because the problem with Horford is he is older and he has a good veteran presence right now and he can still ball right now. But when you look at the last 2 years of his contract, you're tying up a lot of money for a guy that I don't think is going to produce near as well as, somebody. I think we could get a lot more bang for our buck than Al Horford at, 37 years old.
See, the Sixers are kind of screwed, though, because they have a lot of money tied up in Embiid, Harris, and Simmons now.
And I said last year, too, I said if we had to trade Embiid or Simmons, I would trade Embiid. Because you think about it, he's always injured almost every year. Simmons plays. I just think Simmons handles the ball a little better than Embiid does in a game.
But the thing
I really like what they're doing right now with Simmons too, where he's taking it up the court, because Simmons is like one of the best transitional players in the NBA.
Yeah,
you could say the best transitional player in the NBA.
Absolutely.
So when he's bringing it up the court, and he's looking for these holes, and he's looking for these one-on-ones, and he's driving to the hoop, it's really good. But whenever, like I think it was the Nets that went to, Toronto? Toronto went to the zone defense.
And
it kind of tightens up the key a little bit. So maybe he's not able to drive as much. So then he's kicking it out to Richardson, and Richardson's taking the point from there. And I think that's a really good way of doing that.
My thing with Embiid too is I feel like he's almost dorky when he goes down the court. Like when you look at Simmons looks like an athletic athlete who can really drive down the court. Embiid kind of looks like I don't know if that's just me but
well, he would be averaging more points if he played the traditional center position where he posted up, turned, and went to the basket. But his problem is he gets the ball and he wants to turn around and try to dribble past people all the time. If he'd play his position right, he'd be a better scorer.
Yeah, I think he puts the ball on the court way too much when he gets down low and stuff like that. But I also think that he goes off really good sometimes too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So and he is the All-Star this year, so he is one of the best centers in the game. It really is going to determine. It's going to come down to do you want somebody that? I feel like Embiid has more heart and soul into the team, but Simmons is more of a leader.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. I think Simmons is the real leader of the team, and I think if you had to pick between one of the two, I mean, you'd probably get roasted if you told anybody this because Simmons doesn't have the jump shot, but Simmons is by far the best leader of that team. So I would keep him for sure and get rid of Embiid. And I've even thought about that a lot lately. But
and that's only if we do get rid of Embiid. Like I'm not saying I want to get rid of Embiid, but if we had to get rid of one for a trade or anything like that, I would keep Simmons.
But if you think about it, how many big centers are in the NBA now that actually play the center position? It's like the
Not
whole
many, really.
the game's transition to a whole different style of play. Like when I grew up, since I'm older than all you guys, you had Olajuwon, you had Ewing, you had guys that were down there and they battled Lambeer. You don't see that anymore.
Shaq.
Yeah, but Shaq came later. But you like Charles Barkley, you don't see the guys down low beating and banging because let's face it, everything's a foul now.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like look at how they're throwing out flagrants now. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
One thing I will say with the whole like battling too, that I noticed over the last couple, well, I believe it was the Nets game more than anything was whenever they had Mike Scott playing down low, as opposed to just kind of standing outside and trying to hit perimeter shots, and I think I saw he had like 3 or 4 offensive boards. I mean, having him in that position was really, really awesome to have off the bench because, let's face it, like they're not a rebounding team without Embiid out there.
That's true.
But Mike Scott reminds me of Dennis Rodman. I don't know if you guys remember him. He used to average like anywhere from 15 to 20 rebounds a game. And he was lanky. He wasn't like the biggest player on the court. He didn't give you a lot of offense, but he was a guy that was down there beating the boards. Mike Scott could do that. But
absolutely. I think that would be a really good position for Scott to be in because he's not consistent enough to be that 3-point shooter off the bench that you really want.
But unfortunately, we're in a day and age where the big money, the big star players get the playing time, and that's why you see Horford out there and Richardson, who is going to be out for 3 weeks, and you see
that's
Harris.
A big loss.
Yeah, because now
that's a huge loss. Like, but I think the one thing that I think they're doing when they say that they're going to move Zaire up in to fill some minutes, I really think it's just showing off that he's still comfortable enough to play in the NBA and using it as a trade.
Now, who was the guy that we had last year that we traded to the
Shamet.
Clippers? Is he the one that's
Shamet.
he's going off for them?
I liked Shamet.
Oh, Shamet was fantastic.
He played well for us too. That's why I didn't want to get rid of him. We finally had a first-round pick that wasn't injured and was playing well.
And then we had
that too. I mean, you look at he went to the Orlando Magic.
Markelle
Fultz. He's going off
I don't
now.
even want to say the name because it's just sour in my mouth, to be honest.
Yeah, but it was a risk though. There was so much going on with us. I think that he needed a new scenery.
But there's something wrong with Philadelphia that every time we draft a decent player, they don't ever play that first year. They're always injured or there's always something wrong with them.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's another thing that that Brett Brown really has to compete with too, is just the inconsistency of crazy injuries. Like look at Zaire Smith. He got a sesame allergy that almost killed him. like who else does that happen to? Let's be honest.
The good thing about the Sixers is we have what was it, a 10-game lead over the Brooklyn Nets. So we have time to tinker with the lineup and get healthy.
We do.
But you don't want to fall to the bottom tier of the playoffs. You want to be up in the top 5, top 4, top 3.
Well, especially with how they're playing at home versus away right now. I mean,
yeah, and I mean we're only 2.5 games. This is what's sad. We're 10.5 out from Milwaukee, but we're only 2.5 behind the Miami Heat. Crazy.
Yeah, Milwaukee's just is
another level.
Is a force to be reckoned with. I mean. Giannis is a different kind of creature, though. I mean,
but we beat them. You know what I mean? We beat them Christmas Day.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, that's the problem. Like the Sixers are going to lose to the Nets and beat the Lakers. And that's just it seems to be how it's been lately.
Yeah,
and that's another hot team.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit if we made it to the playoffs, and knowing damn well that we could beat the Milwaukee Bucks. But we lose to the Nets.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's them playing down to that level. I don't have an answer for the Sixers right now. It's just it is.
And it's frustrating because everyone thought this was going to be the year, and it started out to be a great year, but just can't get over that damn hump. And I don't know what it is. I really don't.
Yeah. Well,
this is a year that would define the process. I mean, You made your moves and you did what you had to do. And I think this is going to be the year that defines the process and tells you, was it worth it? Was it not worth it? And right now it's not looking good because they can't just pull it all together. They've got the ingredients. Now it's time to make the cake.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Well, the Sixers are 29-17 right now, and hopefully we're hoping for the best out of everything else. But moving on, Zion had his debut the other night. You know,
They're already talking about him being fat.
I mean, I don't think he's fat. I think he's just a husky guy. But ended up with 22 points. 17 of them were scored in the fourth quarter. He was only allowed to play about 3.5 to 4 minutes throughout the first three quarters. Then they allowed him to play 6.5 minutes in the fourth quarter, where he went off.
And he's shooting 100%
Went
from
off.
3-point range.
4 for 4 for 3-pointers.
Maybe Sixers can make a trade for him.
Yeah, he had 7 rebounds and 3 assists, and I was watching those highlights, and I watched all the game, and dude, when he shot those threes and the crowd going crazy, he didn't miss either. That's what's crazy. He didn't miss.
Oh, no.
He went
No,
off.
He commands the floor. And like, I don't know if anybody else felt this way, but like with all the hype and everything that I've been seeing with him over the whole season, I was like, is this really his debut? Like,
Yeah.
like when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, he hasn't played. Like, he got hurt really early on, and just he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think the Pelicans in and of themselves are just going to be crazy.
Well, what's weird is Brandon Ingram, I think, is averaging like 24 points right. He's on another level right now. But Zoe and Zion, they looked good together. And a lot of people, are giving a little crap because he obviously had 17 points in the fourth quarter. Started off really slow, but if you think about it, this is his preseason for him. He's missed most of the season.
Yeah, I think he's probably a smart enough player to try to at least stay a little bit hot, and he is young, so that helps him out a lot. But he's going to be really, really fun to watch. I think that Pelicans team is fun to watch, to be honest, because they're just so young and so wet behind the ears to an extent, but like they're dynamic. I think give them 2 or 3 years, and they're definitely going to be in the running. I mean, they're going to be a fun team to watch.
I wouldn't even count them out this year because they're hot lately. They won 11 of their last, I think, 16 games.
Wow. And a lot of people wanted to give Zion a little crap too, because like he wasn't like at full speed, wasn't really moving at the way he usually moves. But you think about a knee injury, man. You think about when people tear, like he didn't tear his ACL, but you think about when people tear his ACL in football. You usually that first year you're not 100% like the same speed. You're not going to be running the same routes. Same in basketball, you're not going to be jumping and running the same until you're fully confident enough that you could do those same moves that you were doing before the injury. He's coming off a big injury.
Well, wasn't it the ACL tear that had Porzingis out all season last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think half of that was the Knicks just trying to get a good draft pick. To be honest, I think they knew he was going to go.
What isn't that what KD has? What's
No,
he
he
has?
has the Achilles.
KD also has.
He has the Achilles.
No, he has the Achilles. Yeah, that's right. He has the Achilles.
And they're saying
tear,
that
so,
they're saying they don't even know what's going to happen when he comes
I
back.
wouldn't
'Cause that-
rush him this year.
Isn't that what ended Kobe Bryant's career?
I don't think it ended his career.
He was never the same after that.
That's tough.
No,
man.
I mean those are two really big ones that it's going to be hard to come back for, and especially in basketball where it's a constant, like if you're a star, I mean you're a star, you're a star like Zion or you're a star like KD, you're playing 40 minutes a game. You're
And all the
playing
jumping
38
and all the
minutes a
running.
game.
And by the way,
You're
fellas,
jumping and you're running.
the Pelicans are only
So-
4 games out of the playoffs, and they're averaging 114.5 points a game.
You're second, I believe, right?
The Lakers are averaging 114, so the Pelicans are a half point better than them right now.
Ingram.
So anything
they
can
have
happen.
a lot of good shooters. I mean, like I said, Ingram's averaging at least 24 points right now. You have Zion, you just throw in that mix. You got JJ Redick out there. They still have Drew Holiday, I believe, too.
The Pelicans are going to
Yeah,
make a
Drew
run,
Holiday.
and they're going to pass Phoenix, and they're going to pass Portland, they're going to pass the Grizzlies, and they're going to get in the playoffs.
I mean, Portland.
Did you watch that Portland game last night?
I didn't, but
Portland Mavericks.
Portland's a
No.
tough team, though. I wouldn't shoot Portland down. You shot
Maybe-
Portland down quick.
Dude, Portland's horrible.
Port-
They're 19 and 27.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
they're not good. The thing is, they're not. There's no defense on that team.
No, not at all.
There's no defense. So and watching the Mavs and them play last night, it was just like, I mean, they were hot. They were hitting threes left and right, but no one was contesting them. So I mean, if you've got even a decent team that can put up some points, I think Portland's done.
But didn't they both last night the Mavericks and Portland, they both shot over 50% from the field and insane from threes?
Yeah, it was insane. I think there was in the first quarter there was 16 threes made.
I think the Mavericks scored 78 points in the first half or something like that.
75.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wasn't there two players? I think it was Lillard and not Lillard. I forget what two players it was, but I think they had over 10 points in the first quarter.
Yeah, Luka Doncic I know definitely had over 10. Luka Doncic and I believe it wasn't Lillard. It was I can't remember the other one on that. But yeah, I mean they were going off. They were absolutely. But the thing is, when you watch it, there's no defense. If you would. I think if you would have any team that could put up some points and provide some defense on them, on either of those teams, it would be a rough go for them. They would have a hard time competing.
Well, speaking of Luka, he was 164,000 votes behind LeBron to become the captain of the All-Star team. He's the youngest overseas player to ever start an NBA game. And with him and Trae Young named as starters, it's the second time in NBA history that two players under the age of, 22 or younger to start an All-Star game.
He is absolutely disgusting.
Oh yeah, he is. And you got to give it to Trae Young too. I mean, you think about how much doubt he had coming out of college because he wasn't there that long. A lot of people didn't think he was going to be good in the pros, and Go ahead.
At first, I didn't like Trae Young, in I don't know why. I just didn't. I didn't like him when I saw him playing. But the more and more I see him, he takes a lot of that team on his shoulders.
Yeah, that's a bad team. He's the only good player.
He's a really good player for that team. He really takes control. He leads them. I mean, and he's young, and he seems really humble as he does it.
You think about how young he
more
is,
and more of it
and how many
as a fan.
40-point games that he's had.
He's 22.
I mean, he's younger than me. He's had a lot of 40-point games. He shoots the threes a lot, makes them a lot.
And he's got the old man on his team, Vince Carter.
Yeah, so there's a lot of veteran there.
Hey, that guy's a legend.
I at this point, it's just I can't believe he's still out there, even able to move.
Yeah.
That has to be so hard on your knees at that age and everything. I mean, that's a testament to how good he took care of his body, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, you guys went from the Wait a Minute What podcast, which I was really entertained listening to. Broke my heart when you guys changed it. But tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing, and are you still going to be doing a little bit of the Wait a Minute What stuff with it?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, we had to actually redo all of our episodes because it just got too scripted, and I don't like the whole scripted thing, but what we did was we changed it to a movie review, and we might end up getting into more TV reviews and things like that at some point, but we were doing a beer, kind of rating and reviewing it, and it was really from a layman's man's perspective, but if you know anything about really crazy IPAs, probably about 10% of them are good and about 90% of them are awful in my opinion.
Well, I loved your show until the whole White Claw rating.
Oh yeah, you like the White Claw rating? Oh my God, that was so awful. How do you drink those?
You don't like that? That just goes down to water.
No, they're garbage, dude. Hot garbage. Those things are gross.
They're deadly, man. They're really deadly.
My wife got a hold of one. She was like, "I'm gonna try this," and she's like, "I don't know why. It's really good."
They are good.
This is terrible. But so we're moving into that, and what we're trying to do is just keep it lighthearted, keep it fun. But we did try to tone down the profanity and awkward situations that we put ourselves in because we were reaching out to some people, and I think I kind of scared them off with a lot of our content. So,
well, you know what? It happens.
Trying to make it a little more user-friendly, I suppose.
It happens here, too. There's times where I drop it, and at first we were like, we should edit it out. But it's you know what? It's a podcast. It's all natural. Whatever it is, it is.
Yeah, it got pretty raunchy, and to an extent, I like that about it. But then to another extent, it's my buddy was telling me, he's like, I kind of want to listen to this at work, but I really can't.
Yeah.
Because of all the jokes you're making, and I was like, yeah, but they're funny, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but so we kind of toned it down a little bit, and I'm I'm gonna end up starting to drop a couple here coming up soon. My goal was to be around February 1st. I kind of just wanted to get all my ducks in a row and everything. So I'm gonna be dropping an intro episode within the next week and a half, and that's just gonna kind of get your feet wet a little bit, let you know what we're about and what we're gonna try to do and everything, and then really move into dropping a handful of them the first time around, so you guys can really get a grip on all the different ones. Don't want to keep you waiting for another one, and then once a week we're gonna put one out.
Well, I already told
try
you.
to do, baby.
I already told you my favorite movie. Ty, do you want to tell him your favorite movie?
I don't know. That's hard, man. There's so many movies out there.
I told him
Well,
mine.
I'm gonna judge you by your favorite movie. You know that, right?
Mine's Tombstone.
Okay, you're good. I like that.
I've never heard him talk about that movie ever in my
I've
life.
seen it so many times.
I don't know. Like I'm a big
Never?
I'm a big movie guy, so I watch a lot of movies. If I had to pick an old school movie that I love The Breakfast Club, but then I also love the Major League movies. Like I have such a mix of genre. I'm a big science fiction guy. Like there's just so many movies out there I can list.
Okay, well then pick your favorite science fiction movie.
I don't even know. No, because it's hard for me because I forget like a lot of the movies that I watch.
I like the Aliens movies.
Those are good.
That's why you gotta tune in to us. We're gonna dive into it. I think we're trying to make picks here and there, and we're all taking a turn and picking a movie. And then I think what we're gonna do is do a listener pick once a month, and just kind of throw that in there. But to give you an example, I mean we're going all around the horn. So my last one I picked was Kung Fu Hustle. None of us have ever seen it, and I looked up the trailer, and it looks like a pretty rough movie to get through, but we're going to have a go at it, and I think it's going to be fun.
I'm a Jay and Silent Bob kind of guy, so I like all those Dogma,
Oh, Mallrats. I love those movies.
Oh, my God. I had, on our last podcast, I had Kevin Smith like one of my comments on Twitter, and I about fanboyed for a good probably.
You got to hit him up to come on your podcast.
Honest to God, I thought about it. I want to get the stuff that you guys have for the phone interviews and whatnot. And if nothing else, like, I thought about getting Kevin Smith or at least writing them or something. But then there's also, like, a lot of, like, screenwrites and stuff like that I think would be pretty cool, or, like, some actors and whatnot.
Well,
So I
I'll
think
tell
that'd
you
be
what,
really neat, but
it's fun when they commit, but there's times when it's a pain in the ass to get them to come on. It really is. And we've been dealing with that
I'm
a
sure
lot.
it is.
The one night we waited till 11 o'clock to talk to a Major League Baseball pitcher that swore he was coming on, he left us hanging.
Oh, really?
It happens.
Well, anytime you want me to come on, like, as long as it's okay with my wife, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
No, yeah, definitely. This was a blast, guys. Like I thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on here and talk Sixers with you and promote my podcast a little bit. And I hope that we can kind of keep this thing going.
Oh, absolutely.
I can come on whenever big news happens with the 76ers. And
Absolutely,
Yeah, you're more
man.
than welcome.
Really
Absolutely.
good on anything else.
We're shooting for twice a week, and I'm always in contact with you, so if you want to come on, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, for sure, man. And the same goes for you. I'd like to have you. What I want to do is I want to do Tombstone at some point because that's one of my favorite movies also. So
Perfect.
whenever Tombstone comes on, I got to have you guys on there. Ty has to watch Tombstone apparently. He has already. Gotta refresh yourself.
You'll have to watch that one and Wyatt Earp.
Yeah, and get the VHS thing. You know what I mean? You really got to get the full effect of it.
Yeah.
But thank you guys. I greatly appreciate
No
all
problem,
the
Alex.
opportunity that you gave me.
No problem, man. We
problem.
hope you have a good night
Hey,
and a good
I'll-
weekend.
I'll be in touch.
Hey, thanks, guys.
All right, later.
All right, so that was Alex with his podcast. My phone is about to die any second right now, guys. So we really, really hope you enjoyed
This was a lot of
podcast.
fun, a lot of news. We'll see you guys next time.
Have a good one.